Hey there everyone, I'm the Video Boxing Gamer and welcome to the Gaming Ring, a show where I like to talk about video games and my video game memories. So lace up your gloves, put in your mouthpieces, and let's get started because it's time to step into the Gaming Ring. So to start off the series, I'm going to talk about one of everybody's all-time favorites, Super Mario Bros. What can I say about Super Mario Bros.? It was the very first NES game I ever played, and was immediately my all-time favorite. Super Mario Bros. Was the game that started the NES craze, and even though Mario already appeared in previous games before the NES ever existed, it was Super Mario Bros. That made him a smash hit. He was even more popular than Mickey Mouse. Mario was in fact my very first childhood video game hero ever. I mean, how can you go wrong with a game where you play as a plumber who has to save a princess and an entire kingdom from an evil sorcerer king who breathes fire and throws hammers at you? And how about the enemies in the game? Little walking mushrooms called Goombas, turtles called Koopa Troopas, flying fish called Cheep Cheeps, clouded enemies called Lakitus, who throw spiky-shelled creatures at you called Spinies, plants that eat you called Piranha Plants, hammer-throwing turtles called Hammer Brothers, living bullets called Bullet Bills, squids called Bloopers, flying turtles called Paracoopas, black-shelled creatures called Buzzy Beetles. And how about those power-up items? Mushrooms that make you big, flowers that make you throw fireballs, stars that make you temporarily invincible. What more could you ask for? And let's not forget pipes that take you to underground areas, and beanstalks that take you to the sky, or question block stocks, or whatever you call them. Even the music was very catchy. Just listen to that classic tune. Another awesome thing about Super Mario Bros. Was discovering the warp zones, where each pipe led you to a different world. And who can forget that extra lives trick? And the minus world, from which there is no escape. And that stuck in the wall trick. Super Mario Bros. Was at one time the one thing I loved more than anything in the world. In fact, I loved video games more than anything in the world back then. There was even a time once during my childhood when I would pick up dandelions and pretend to be Fire Mario. My favorite world was always World 3 because it was a snowy level. And back then, I used to call that the Christmas level because, it was a snow level. Sounds crazy, I know, but hey, I was a kid then. What do you expect? Super Mario Bros. Wasn't the very first NES game I ever did beat, but it was the very first NES game whose ending I ever did see. In fact, just thinking about it, it seems like only yesterday I was a little kid watching my folks play the game. One of them was going through the underwater part of the 8th castle and eventually managed to beat the game. And that was the only time until years later that I ever did see the game's ending. It was also the only time until years later that I ever did see the second quest where all the Goombas in the game got replaced with Buzzy Beetles, which I thought was a pretty cool idea because I loved the Buzzy Beetles. I thought they were the coolest looking enemies in the entire game. One thing that I actually did find very disappointing about the game that I didn't notice until a few years later during the 90s was that when you get hit as Fire Mario, you go all the way back to being regular Mario instead of Super Mario. And when you touch the Fire Flower as regular Mario, you just turn into Super Mario, which also disappointed me as a kid. The only other thing about the game that I used to really hate was having to go through those Hammer Brothers, especially as regular Mario. But hey, even if Super Mario Bros. Isn't 100% perfect, it's still a game that just can't be unseen as 100% perfect. Because let's face it, Super Mario Bros. Is a classic. With its classic play control, wonderful graphics, catchy music, and awesome gameplay, Super Mario Bros. Wins by a knockout. And it will continue to win by a knockout until the end of time. Well, that's all for this episode of The Gaming Ring. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like, and if you have anything you'd like to say about the game I reviewed, then please leave a comment below in the comments section. And if you'd like to see more of The Gaming Ring, then be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to punch that notification bell. Till next time, everyone, keep your gloves up, protect yourselves at all times, and have a happy Thanksgiving.